Hey, it's Lynnie Wennerstrom, common sense health expert, spiritual mentor, and encourager. Today, let's ask the question of ourselves. I invite you to say, where does my happiness come from? Where does happiness come from? It's a pretty easy answer. Let's say it's a simple answer. It's not so easy. And the reason it's not so easy is because we are bombarded with conditioning and programming that says we are not worthy enough. And with this idea of separation, that there are others who are better than us. And then we look down and there are some people that are worse than us. Not worse off, but they're not as good as us. And so there's always this constant, like, where do I fit? This comparitis. You find that on the internet a lot with social media. And it's interesting because happiness is, you've probably heard, and I think there's a book, Happiness is an Inside Job. Well, it is an inside job. And that's the truth, and that's the secret. But it's how do you get there? How do you get to happiness? It's really, it comes from self-acceptance. When you understand who and what you really are, which you can say that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, or you can say you're a light, your energy, your whatever you want to say that you are, a child of God, you have the God code inside you. You are in your DNA. You are that light. You are that source. You are an individual expression of that. And that's a very powerful place to, when you, even if you maybe don't believe that about yourself, if you could be willing to allow yourself to just think that maybe that could be so, then you would understand how very perfect you are. And so that happiness comes from that acceptance of self. And it's very hard for many people, most people, to accept themselves because they're not as good as somebody else in school, or their bigger sister, younger brother, somebody in the family, or and so a very beautiful thing is to understand the what I call the highest frequency, and that is acceptance. If you can accept that all is as it is supposed to be, it sounds so trite. It sounds so, oh, everything is as it's supposed to be. And so many of us say it all the time, that it almost has lost its power. But when you actually understand those words and you relate those words to you and accept that everything is as it's supposed to be, and then you have free will and you get to decide if where you're at, that it's where you want to be, and if it's highest and best for you and for all those connected to you. So happiness comes down to when you can think about being in a place of, coming from a place of neutrality about situations. I'm going to change this a little bit, sorry. But when you can come from a place of neutrality and rather than coming from a place of emotional. And even if you are in a place where you feel very emotional, to objectively look at that and think, why am I feeling this way? And then allow yourself to feel the feelings. Doesn't matter. To repress them is akin to Carl Jung's saying, what you resist persists. It becomes bigger and bigger, and then you have to find other ways of dealing with it. So to allow, one tool is to allow yourself to feel those emotions and come from a place of self-compassion. Have so much compassion for yourself like you would for your best friend. We hear that also a lot in our friends will tell us that, or in therapy, or wherever somebody will say, well, would you talk to your best friend like that? Would you? And would you have compassion for where they're at? This is where we turn inside and have that self-compassion and allow ourselves to feel, well, that really hurt. That sucked. That person said that or did that. I mean, recently I was accused of saying something pretty awful that I would have never, ever have said. And I was shocked. I was actually shocked. I was like, that somebody that I knew would say that I said something like that, and wouldn't give me the, didn't tell me, did you really mean to say that? Do you really feel that way? Or, I don't know, it's not, that's something I would do. So that's me putting my, maybe that's judgment. I don't know. This is a journey. We are on a journey together. And so we think about these real world, what is that? But I was so shocked by that that person it was actually a few people that had gotten together, and or maybe a couple that had thought about it, and I had said that supposedly, and I knew I hadn't, never would have said it, and definitely didn't feel it, what I had been accused of, that, and I just allowed myself to feel it, to not judge it, it took a while to process, and to just say that, and I'll just say that person is on their own journey, and that journey is not mine to judge. And when we come from a place of this neutrality where it's not right or wrong, good or bad, it just is, and we can accept that it is, and then we can look at things objectively, it gives us a power. It's very empowering. I'm trying to find my notes, because there was something about that I wanted to express besides the it's just that man, I can't find, well, the biggest thing that I want to share with you today as we take this journey together, because believe me, as you can tell, I'm still trying to figure things out myself, and I am so grateful for that, because the day that you stop learning, the day that you stop exploring, the day that you stop expanding and trying to understand and trying to grow and trying to learn, that's the day that people say that's the day you die. Well, it's really the day that you start shrinking. It's when you start shrinking from the potentiality of who you could become. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yet there's just, you can feel it. There's no joy in that. There's no happiness. You're all like at a lower frequency as opposed to, or rather than having that contrast of vibrating at a higher frequency and getting knocked back a little bit. Sometimes, like that shock to me of somebody thinking I'd said something so awful, and or telling me, like saying, you said this. It's like, no, that's your truth. You can believe that, but I would never say that. That is not who I am. And it kind of hurt, and just because of who it came from. And it's really interesting how you can, when you come from this place of the observer and from a neutral place, and I think the biggest part of that is that acceptance. So the acceptance is where you can find that happiness, that you're okay, that everything is as it's supposed to be. And that means even a person who slings arrows at you or is upset with you, or you have done something that is not very kind. I mean, I've done many things that are not very kind. And then it's just like, oh, you feel horrible. And it's that feeling in your body that tells you when you're aligned, when you're in harmony. And we're always talking about living in harmony, because that universal law of harmony is the key to happiness, to peace, to joy, to it's when you are aligned, and you know in your body when you are not aligned, because it does not feel good. And so to move into alignment, this is how you can 100% judge where you're at in your life. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel good, then you're not in alignment with your higher self. You're just not. You're not in harmony with the universal law of harmony. So you're not flowing. And that is our natural state, to be in harmony and to feel good. And so when we don't feel good, we're learning, we're challenging. I'm not talking about learning. I always have to say this, because it's not like we're learning, we're trying to, like when we challenge ourselves and we're, say, struggling with the challenge because we have this to learn, and that's like online, to learn new software, and there's just so many things that you need to do in order to get an email out, or to all the things, or create a video, and there's just all these things that you have to learn, these steps, and they can like throw you for a loop sometime, and sometimes it's difficult, and that's a challenge, and that's where we grow. So I'm not talking about that kind of feeling, because that can suck too. It's like, but yet you're going to a really fun place, or a better place. Like that what's around that corner is where you want to go. That's what you're striving for. Yet when you say something mean to somebody, or somebody says something mean to you, or judges you, or something, or you're in a relationship that is not a healthy relationship, or you're not eating healthy foods, and you can feel it in your body, that you don't feel healthy, or you're not where you want to be financially, you're just not feeling healthy or happy or any of those things. Why? It's because you're not in harmony. And so it's look, how does that feel in your body? And then think about, well, if I were to move and have, well, it's not even if I were, it's that acceptance, the acceptance. Okay, this is where I am now, and I'm good with that. Like, it sucks right now, but I have free will. I get to change this into something that I want to do. And that's where you start moving into that happiness. That happiness is an inside job, because you have that acceptance. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. And truly it's highest and best, and everything is a message to me for positive change. Everything. Somebody slugs you, or tells you something mean, or you fall and break an arm, or you never know, or you don't get the job that you wanted, and somebody else did. And there's always something more beautiful around that bend. Always. There's something more powerful, more beautiful around that corner, more adventurous, more something that is highest and best for you. And there's a reason why it didn't happen for you, or something did happen. And I say to you, like nothing happens to you, but if you fall and break your arm, did you fall and break your arm? That did happen. So on this third dimension. But it also happens for you, because what will you learn along that journey that you broke your arm? Maybe you don't ride your bike so fast, or you watch where you pick up your feet, or you start exercising more, so you build up muscles, or something to support the joints and the ligaments. There's just always something that leads to something more beautiful around the corner. And if you could just believe that for a moment, that could happen for yourself, and take that to heart, you start to see that happiness is an inside job, and it's very empowering. And that happiness does come from within, comes from your thinking. Your thinking. Thoughts are things. They move energy. That is proven. That is absolutely proven. So it's all energy. You are energy. I am energy. We're all energy. Beautiful energy, of course. So I hope that is helpful, just to get you thinking about happiness being coming from within, and having that acceptance of who you are. And probably the biggest tool that I can share with you today is having self-compassion. Because if something happens to you that is to you, there I go again. See, I'm also very programmed. So we all are. So, but if something happens and you don't feel good, or you're in a place where you don't feel good, to just feel those feelings, like feel the anger, feel the hurt, feel the shock, feel the whatever it is. Like for me, it was shock. And then it was like, oh my gosh, how could somebody even think that I would say that or feel that way? And then why wouldn't they come to me and tell me, did you really mean that? And I was like, there go stories, right? Telling myself stories and what somebody should do or not do. No, that person is absolutely perfect. That person it was a teacher, and that was a teaching moment for me. And I moved into neutrality, and I came to this self-compassion, like, wow, that did not feel good. And then it's like honoring the journey. We're going to talk a lot about honoring the journey, because that's almost sounds cliche too. So like, oh, I'm going to honor her journey, his journey, my journey. I need to honor the journey. That's like very, to honor the journey sounds almost like, again, that's another thing that we say all the time. But when you really understand, that comes right down to acceptance of where, to allow that person to be on their journey and not judge that, to allow yourself to be on that journey and not judge that. So, so I hope that's helpful. And I love these conversations. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they really get you thinking, because when you move into that frequency, when you're vibrating at that very high frequency of acceptance, that everything is as it should be, and everything that is offered you is highest and best. It might not feel it right now, but it's when you come from that perspective, everything changes. Like the worst things can happen to you, and it's like, well, that sucks. And then you can say, yeah, but there's something else coming around the corner. I didn't get that job, but maybe I'll get, it's not even a maybe. It's just like, okay, that wasn't highest and best. It was highest and best for that person, but not for me. And that means there's something better for me. And we can never, ever guess what the universe, our higher selves, whatever you want to call that higher power, it's so beautiful and so aligned with where we need to go. And when we listen to it, it's just so ordered and beautiful, and it will always be something much better for us. And even if it seems like we go down and down and down the road, it's because we're not learning the lessons and we're not accepting. And so that is a humongous non-secret at all. So I hope that was helpful. Move into the best tool I can give you is what I always say in affirmation, and it's pretty much part of my DNA at this point, but everything is a message to me for positive change, because everything matters, everything has purpose, and you matter, and you have purpose, and you're beautiful. And when you recognize that you are exactly where you need to be, again, sounding trite, but really taking that in, it's very empowering, because then you can really take your free will and feel whether that feels good in your body or not, and see if you are aligned, if you're in harmony with your own highest self. If it feels right in your body, you know it, and you move towards that. And if it doesn't feel right in your body, then it's not moving away from it. It literally is just saying, well, what is it that is not working for me? And moving into that place of neutrality and acceptance, and then re-engaging that free will. I hope that's healthy. I hope that's healthy, because I was going to say happy. I hope that's helpful. And I hope that you understand where does happiness come from. It comes from you. It comes from within. It comes from self-acceptance. That is work. And when you start doing the work, but yet you understand that you are so beautiful and perfect, starting out, but you have all these layers that were, as a human, have been imposed upon you, that you've learned, and you've even started being your own persecutor. When you start peeling back those layers and really start getting these concepts, you start thriving. The things that seem so horrible, you actually will laugh at them. You will actually laugh at some of the things that you thought were so horrible, and you'll be so grateful that they happened for you because they have shifted your life, and your life wouldn't be where it is right now. Even if you feel like it's in a shambles right now and horrible, you have free will and you accept it. And then you say, okay, this was where I needed to be. Everything is a message to me for positive change. Have that immense self-compassion, feel the feelings, and then take action to move yourself with your free will to what feels good in your body, what feels right. And it's baby steps. It's not like you're going to have $1 million overnight, or you're going to have a perfect relationship and you snap your fingers and, okay, I accept, okay, now he'll be really nice to me. No, it's a process, and it's a beautiful process. And that is honoring the journey. So happiness is an inside job, and there's my puppies. Hello, puppies. And that's Happy Bean, speaking of happy, and Feather. Hello, Feather. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And I love you so, so incredibly mucho, and wish for you all that is highest and best. And that I'm just grateful that you are along this journey with me, because together we lift each other. So shining my light to brighten yours. Have a beautiful day. Ciao.